And this is News Sources. President Uhuru Kenyatta has waded into the ongoing doctor strike that has crippled services in public hospitals, calling doctors a blackmailing lot. Uhuru says doctors have been offered more money than they earn in private practice. They're just taking you and me in circles. A faith-led negotiation team appears to have been caught off guard by the president's pronouncement from Naivasha. Let's take a listen.
Every doctor swears a solemn oath that they shall do no harm. Continuing with this illegal strike in the face of the enhanced government offer, which is at the very edge of affordability and sustainability, is to betray that solemn oath. It is to do very real and continuing harm to the very same Kenyans who sacrifice in terms of taxes paid for the medical training that the doctors received.
We are paying these people, and we have offered these people more money than even doctors in the private sector receive. An intern today is being offered more money than a medical practitioner working at Nairobi Hospital, Aga Khan Hospital, Mata Hospital. Kwani hii watu wanaona sisi ni wajinga namna gani? It cannot be. And only for working 2 hours a day in a government hospital, and then they run to do private practice in their clinics. This is blackmail, and we are not going to entertain it.
A visibly hungry president there from Naivasha. Joining me in studio tonight is, of course, Waume Thuku, an advocate. Karibu sana to the show. Nicholas Asego, news editor at Standard Media Group, and Dominic Obala, freelance journalist. Nicholas, where does this leave the doctor's strike?
I think the strike is as good as gone, if you ask me. I mean, this is the head of state. He's read the riot act, so to speak. The doctors have, there's no other way. The court had declared it illegal. The Senate committee had declared it illegal. The president stood his ground. They have no way out, if you ask me.
Now, Waume, where does this leave the court process? There was a case ongoing in court. Parties showed up today. They were asked to come back with a solution on Monday. And where does this leave?
I think as far as the court case is concerned, it still goes on. I don't think the president's proclamation can affect the court case. But it's unfortunate. In fact, I disagree with my colleague here saying that the strike is over. I don't know what the president has said today, which he had not said earlier, or which was not the position earlier. These doctors have been sacked, I think 5-6 times now. That's the much you can do to someone who is on strike. The doctors are persistent. They know what they want. They have put forward their case. The government has put forward its case. If they feel that what they are demanding for has not been met, there is still room for negotiation. Otherwise, you cannot use this kind of hardness to think that you can just intimidate them. These are not the kind of people to be intimidated.
There was a deal in place already, 14.5 billion shillings, 50% pay rise, 600 million. That's what the doctors wanted before they resume work. Obala, where does this leave these negotiations?
I think on this, the doctors have goofed. At the risk of being punished when I get to hospital. Sometimes I think they goofed. And the Court Secretary General at some point said that he helped in the negotiations, and in his own understanding as a labor unionist, he thinks the offer that was given of 40% increment instead of what they wanted was good enough for them to start negotiating. What is done during those negotiations, such negotiations of CBA, is that the union takes what is offered to them and then negotiate further. But as it is, the doctors have been adamant and to an extent, like the president says, blackmailed the public. It's been 90 days, almost 90 plus, of guys not having service. Quite a number of people have died.
Asego, you've been on this for some time.
Yes.
Does it mean doctors have not been giving in to government's demands, or the government has been adamant for those 90 days?
I think at the beginning it was like it was a case where both the government and the doctors stood their ground. But over time, I think the government insisted on, and it, well, almost, I think for me, I think the government gave in the fact that they gave a 40% increase. They allowed certain allowances in an enhanced package, but the doctors stood their ground for quite some time. And if you ask me, I think the public were with the doctors to start with, but they got tired. We are counting 90 plus days. You've lost the goodwill of the public, you're still holding on. In the end, you risk losing support.
Yeah, well,
You see, what the question is, then what? Now they have stood their grounds, as we say. The president has announced what he has announced. You have a court case that is in progress. But then the question is, what next? Because are you going to sack? In fact, I just saw Mutua saying, why can't these doctors leave so that you employ others? Why can't you sack them? I mean, it's just, there's no employee who is expected to go.
Listening to Munya, the Meru
I'm talking about
Alfred fine, but in a joint statement read on behalf of the Council of Governors, I guess, there seems to be a process that is likely to see these doctors on strike fired and others given some form of security with the resume work.
But Dennis, I think we have to be realistic. So how many doctors do we have? How long does it take for doctors to train?
Right.
Now, do we have that capacity? Do we have an alternative lot that will get these, I don't know how many of them there are?
Interns have been called on board. Postgraduate students have been called on board to just wind up what they're supposed to be doing.
But do we have the capacity to sack all these doctors and get fresh ones? I don't think we can afford to do that. I don't think we have the manpower to be able to do that, to sack, literally sack all the striking doctors and get in a fresh lot. I mean, you're talking about interns. You're not talking about doctors. Those are interns. So they have not gone through the due process of education to make them doctors.
And I think there's a kind of reasoning that's making the doctors stand their ground. The same reasoning. But for how long can we do that?
There was a package. There was a package already in place. The only disagreement between doctors' union and government was 600 million shillings more. Was this done in a hurry? Was it a sign of good faith from government that doctors abused, or it was government blackmailing doctors into a deal? When they said no, government backed off?
We are saying there are negotiations going on, okay? We have tried COTU, we have tried human rights, Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. We have tried another agency, I think LSK. The religious leaders are on the ground now.
Right.
For the president to just come and say, if you fail, once you are going for negotiations, you don't come with conditions and say that should this fail. Now, you have already planted the seed of failure. The president is one who should be standing back and waiting. Yesterday, I think he had a whole session with them, and I think that's the frustration from which he's suffering. I keep on thinking about these doctors, and I say it to myself. Maybe the prayers is what will get us back. Because as I think about it, maybe persuading them to go back. Don't try to push it. Don't even try to bring interns. I mean, some of these procedures that these guys do are not the kind of things you'll expect that interns and just any other person will come in and fit in.
Has this government handled this doctor strike well? Has it handled this situation well?
I would say they have negotiated, okay? That's good enough. And even handling well means you go to court, you bring other processes, you bring mediators to do it. That's far so good. But you can't now start putting in condition and saying that if this does not fail, we are going to deal with you, okay? Because the question then is, why haven't you dealt with them before? Why have you waited for 100 days? What is this that you're waiting for people to die all through?
Let's talk about something else. Still in Naivasha, county governments are taking stock of what they have done the last 4 years. It has been a mixed bag of feelings, with millions of Kenyans saying devolution is a good thing. Equally, millions others are saying it has been an avenue of corruption as devolution worked in this country. Let's have a listen to Ohome. 4 years later, devolution, has it worked? Has it not worked?
It has worked. In fact, devolution has worked faster in this country, as Honorable Raila Odinga was saying, faster than was planned. Okay? If you were to ask anyone now, what they are feeling on the ground. You see, persons in Nairobi here will tell you, we will keep on complaining and saying, of course, services in Nairobi have gone, have deteriorated. But if you go to other places, places that had no roads, places that had nothing, no small hospitals, clinics, sorry. Now those ones you can feel them. And I was telling people right in the morning, if you want to vote one person out of the 6 candidates that you have, vote a governor. A governor is a person who represents you. He will represent you at the highest level and at the lowest level. Your MP is just an oversighting person, okay, someone to ensure that your money is not wasted, okay? And then they come around here and do a manner of things in Nairobi. In fact, MPs are supposed to be here in Nairobi. Devolution at the grassroots. That is what is working, and that's what is going to drive this country way forward.
Nicholas, we've had cases of push and pull between the national government and the county governments, where the national government says, we've given you money, you're misusing the money. Right. The county governments are saying, you're only giving us 15% of the national budget, right. You're keeping 85% of it. Right. Has devolution worked?
Yes, it has worked. Especially given the fact these are the first office holders, the governors. This is the first time we are trying out devolution. And given the challenges, despite the challenges, I think it has worked. Just as my colleague mentioned, when you talk of roads in the village, hospitals, it has made so much changes at the county level, maybe as opposed to Nairobi, because here we are used to certain things, okay, being the capital city and all that. But I think back in the villages, devolution has worked.
Could it have been better, Dominic, 4 years later, if there was goodwill and money from the national government?
I believe it would have been far much better than what it is now if there had been goodwill, if there wasn't infighting between the national government and the county government. But as it is, I concur with my colleagues that devolution is good for this country, and it has been relatively well implemented. My village, for a long time, power was such a problem. We now have street lights in the village. I mean, that to me is an achievement. Water is available, and you can actually see some samples you can see some samples of development where it had not been. I mean, you look at counties like Garissa, Mandera, and the likes of it, where national government was never there. You go there and somebody tells you, Salimia watu wa Kenya, because for them it was not part of Kenya. Nothing was there. But as it is now, you can actually see Wajir is one of the counties that now has 10 kilometers of tarmac, which was never there in the first place, or almost 53 years since independence. So I believe...
Are voters likely to differentiate between what the national government has done and county governments when it comes to electing a new governor in office or retaining the one already in office?
No, of course they are not. A number of voters may not be able to distinguish what a national government should do and what a county government should do. Right. But that is not important as such, because to a voter, to an ordinary Wanjiku out there, as long as services are offered, nothing more counts. But as far as the devolution is concerned and the role of these governors and the county government, once the MCAs and the leaders down there identify their roles, then we will be heading to sort out these problems. Because one of the things that the MCAs don't know is that they are not supposed to be the executors. They are supposed to be oversights just like the MPs, okay? So once these people understand what they are supposed to do, and then once we have better governors, because some of these fellows, you asked whether it would have been better. Once, if you are buying a wheelbarrow at 200,000 shillings, then it means something can be better than that. Next time, get somebody who is able to take care of your finances properly and to be accountable. Once we sort out those...
I think that's where we should going to next. 4 years on, the national government and the opposition are now saying there is wastage of resources at the county level. What President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga failed to acknowledge is there is more wastage of taxpayers' money at the national government more than ever before. I'm told we can't listen in to the opposition leader Raila Odinga or Uhuru Kenyatta, but I think you saw him on TV yesterday. Right. That push and pull, you've stolen more than we have for the last 4 years.
You see, the context was in a barrier of a governor. Okay, so, and the issue was, he's a governor who has been at loggerheads with his MCAs, okay, with the county assembly there. So that had to be said at that forum. It's true that the national government has had its share of theft. In fact, that is what is irritating these doctors, to think that if you are able to steal this much, why can't you pay us as much? But yesterday being a situation where it was an issue of the county government, and the two are right. The county assembly must understand what they are supposed to do. Once that is sorted out, and then they let the governors do their work. Whether the governors are stealing, oversight that. Tell us they are doing that. Do something about it. Question them. Then we are.
Before I bring you in, Asego, let's listen into opposition leader Raila Odinga there.
Saa ingine kama mtu anafanya makosa, naweza kumsamehe, manake hii ni kitu mpya, ni pioneer.
Kama hutaki agenda ya mtu, kama hutaki policy zake, kama hutaki program zake, then bid your time, utamtoa kwa uchaguzi mwingine kukurudi kwa wananchi, lakini sio kupinga miradi wakati inaendelea. Kwa hivyo, Gachagua, for the first time in a long time, umesababisha nikubaliane na Raila. Kwa hivyo, ni pongezi kwako.
Politics of funeral, politics of substance there.
Well, I think they've mentioned the fact that there's wastage in the counties. And it's true. I, for one, believe that when he started off with the devolution, many didn't know what was expected of them. We had not had it before. They did have an example to learn from. I believe the MCAs didn't know what was expected of them. Okay, so we were all getting into this new structure of governance and learning as you get along. And they missed it at times. In other counties, they got it right. But yes, there's been a lot of wastage. And when you compare it with the national government, yes, there's been a lot of wastage in the national government. But see, for those constituencies in the different counties, it's the governor they see, and it's the ward reps they see. They might not so much about the national government, but they know we are not getting these services at the county level. There must be a problem somewhere. Our roads are bad. There must be a problem somewhere. So for them, they're more in touch with the county. And
Ubalo, we had the transition authority some time back, which was working county governments, transitioning from county councils to county governments, and I think they did a pretty good job. Where did we miss the boat?
I think we missed the boat when the councillors, because quite a number of them transited into MCAs, realized that they had quite some huge power and could dictate what happens to them. And the initial stages, most governors were actually under siege, where MCAs were demanding outrageous allowances and packs, thinking that all the 15% budget allocated to county governments was meant to enrich them and make them more comfortable. See, that is where the problem began. And you remember there was was it Kitui governor who had a problem with the MCAs and even threatened to resign for some time.
It's Makueni.
Makueni, and they didn't work for quite some time. Gachagua had the same problem, and quite a number of governors have had that. And I think in the next election, we are going to see more qualified people aiming for the MCA seat, because it looks like it's more lucrative than even being an MP.
Are we likely to see a difference on how counties run their affairs after August elections? Are we likely to see more responsible governors, more hands-on individuals in office?
That will depend on the voters there. I pick from what Obala is saying here that we are likely to see a more active county governments, okay, and the county assemblies. That will not be determined by the, say, academic qualifications of these people. It will be all about the integrity. If people, the voters, are able to choose fellows who are well-known, persons who have the public interest at heart, whether they are governors or MCAs, because these are people, you know, once you are electing someone, you should not just elect somebody because he has come to you once and told you what he can do. Elect somebody whom you have interrogated, someone you know, whom you can dig deep and find what the substance they have. Once you're able to have such kind of persons running the county government, then you are going to have a key That's because that is the driving machine for the machines for development in the whole country. The 47 of them. Focusing so much on the national government is not going to help going forward, because these are the persons who manage our lives on a daily basis, and coming from the governor down to the MCAs are supposed to be the persons who pick what our feelings are, then submit them to the National Assembly, the county assemblies, and onwards, so that the policies within the counties can be implemented in accordance to what the people want. That grassroots, that's what you call the grassroots. Once that one is fixed, then some people may not even mind so much about what the national government does. That is where the problem is, and that's the problem.
If we fix this, are we likely to have less competition about who becomes president in this country? If people at the county level feel they have access to services, they have
Absolutely.
access to clean water, electricity, all those things, are we likely to have less competition at the national level for this highest office in the land?
Absolutely, because I think we'll do away with that age where you only get a good role when the president visits your area. We'll do away with the politics of delegations to get something done in your region. And after 2017 elections, I believe we'll have better services at the county level, because if you see the caliber of aspirants, when even MCAs is no longer, we find highly educated fellows, professors, engineers going for MCAs, contrary to what probably they thought it was before. You're seeing senators and other professionals going for governorship. Yeah, so there's a chance that we'll have a better leadership.
I think devolution was well intended. The drafters of the constitution knew what they wanted. And if the 47 governors actually effectively worked as intended, as is prescribed by the constitution, the presidency would not be such a big deal anymore, because they are the presidents of the counties. And if they initiated development programs, the national government will just be doing an oversight role. All we need to do is have accountability mechanisms, where if there's looting in counties, it is checked. I have noticed, I have information that almost all governors or almost all county governments have a case at EACC, that one way or another, procurement, employment, and the likes of it. And if only that was effected and streamlined, I believe Kenya would go a long way.
Wahome, before we do our Twitter poll tonight, are we likely to see a national government that will provide resources and have this captured in a constitution? Let's say 45%, the national budget going to the counties, instead of these 20% I hear about, 45% here tomorrow, 20% the other day.
We try to have an increase in the budget, the budgetary allocations to the to the county government. It appeared political because, of course, we were divided on the usual political division. But my thinking is that if we allocate enough resources to the county government and then ensure that that is not abused, we are going to have more faster development than we already have. But it must go this way. The national government must accept that we are in a devolved system. Okay, the other day I heard the president saying that the county governments should not take pride of what the national government is doing. Okay, you see things like putting up electricity. They are supposed to install, and then the county governments pay the bills, especially for street lights. That is a conflicting responsibility. Now, what we should do is to ensure that we have a national government that appreciates that there are other 47 smaller governments. Once that appreciation is there, once they realize that we are not the only ones running the government from Nairobi here, then we will have a very good system. That is the only way this thing will work. Because we like it or not, we are in a devolved system, and that is not going to change.
Let's talk about people who live in these devolved governments. We're asking you tonight, what has devolution done for you in the last 4 years? What has devolution done for you in the last 4 years? You can tweet me at Dion Sarigo at KTN News, and we'll sample some of your views as we continue with this program. Let's take a few from you. Now I have there's this gentleman here from I think Machakos, who say my home county, Machakos, has risen to #1 in Kenya, and this has been powered by Dr. Alfred Mutua, the place to be. And then I have Kikomi Mutua, who's saying nothing. Things are actually worse. The evolution is a disaster. Your comment, Mohammed?
No, devolution is not a disaster because we have tested it for 4 years. 4 years is, for a system that we expect to go a long, long way with us, 4 years is nothing. Right. No one works within the first 2 years, okay? We have tried it for 4 years, and we are trying it with all the constraints, budgetary constraints, all manner of problems, okay? So nobody can tell us that at this point in time, devolution has failed.
Before we go, Abala, there's someone who is saying when Salas, something like that, he said that devolution has actually increased theft of public funds, enhanced negative ethnicity, contrary to expectations. Your take on this before we take a short break?
But I don't think he's right. What has happened in the counties is that the resources have been made available to people, to the locals, the residents of the county, and as such, I mean, if it is devolved to the residents of the county, then it means, of course, that it's the residents of the county that will benefit from that, which is what is expected of us. Right. Now, you don't expect somebody from Wajir to be the beneficiary of county resources in Migori, for instance. So if that is what is calling it ethnicity, so be it. But that is what it was meant.
We're asking you tonight, what has devolution done for you in the last 4 years? You can tweet me at Dion Sarigo at KTN News, and I'll sample some of your views as we continue this program. But we must take a short break. We'll be right back.